You never told me his father was Johnny Lawrence.
Well, what's it matter?
What's it matter? You stole the man's son. If that's not a direct attack, I don't know what is.
Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. That is the credo of the legendary, fictitious Cobra Kai karate dojo from out of the original Karate Kid movies, and now with the Cobra Kai series that was on originally YouTube Red and is now on Netflix and has been a sensation. And season 4 just dropped about a month or so ago on Netflix. I was able to get through the entire season. It's a very binge-worthy show. I realized this about, a year and a half ago when I first saw it on YouTube Red. And now that season 4 is over and we're looking forward to season 5, I did want to give a recap of what happened in season 4 where we left off and where we might be going in the future with the Cobra Kai series. But before we get into that, I want to let you guys know that this being YouTube, I've got some free goodies down for you guys in the description box below. If you're interested in cryptocurrency, you can get some free crypto by using some of the links down below for Celsius or BlockFi, or even Coinbase, which is a popular one that people use. You can get 60,000 bonus points from signing up for the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, which is one of the better credit cards you can get out there. And of course, you can get 2 free stocks from signing up with Webull. Those stocks can be worth anywhere up to $2,300 a piece. It's basically like getting free money. So check some of that stuff out below and investigate as you will before you making any purchases or any financial investments. And hopefully some of that stuff will work out for you guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And now let's get into talking about Cobra Kai Season 4. I gotta give a little backstory as far as my perspective on Cobra Kai. I grew up in the 80s. I was an 80s kid, so as most 80 kids were, I was a huge Karate Kid fan. Karate Kid came out, I think I was 8 years old, 6, 7, 8 years old when it came out. And I really, really enjoyed the first Karate Kid, the second Karate Kid, and even the third Karate Kid. I remember being a little bit older in 1989 when Karate Kid 3 came out, and I was a little bit more aware of storylines and that it wasn't as good as the first two, but there were some bright spots in it. And one of the biggest bright spots in Karate Kid 3 that anybody who saw the movie at the time will tell you is the character of Terry Silver. By the third movie, we had gone through quite a few villains at that point. Of course, Johnny and the original Cobra Kai's were villains. John Kreese was a villain. You had Sato and Chosen, who were villains in Karate Kid 2. And we come back in Karate Kid 3 to John Kreese, but he's got a buddy who is Terry Silver, who even to this day when I watch old clips of that movie, it is just so interesting how Terry Silver, the character, the actor, the whole persona, just kind of one-ups it a little bit. He's a bit of a higher tier villain than most of the other ones we had encountered in Karate Kid at that point. And now with the Cobra Kai series, a lot of people are speculating, even though his name was mentioned in the very first season of Karate Kid, but we never saw him, that eventually, with them bringing back other characters like Ali and Chosen, that we would eventually get to Terry Silver joining the fray. And season 4, we see Terry Silver come back, but not quite the way we expected. Terry Silver is a reformed man, and as one of my friends who I watched the first episode with said, Terry Silver, he's grown up. He's grown up not like the rest of them, and I kind of was like, I think you're missing the point of what they're saying here in the episode. We see Terry Silver, and he's not a karate master. He's not dumping nuclear waste, and he's not high on cocaine, as he fully admitted in the first couple episodes of season 4 of Cobra Kai that he was pretty high on coke back in the 80s, as a lot of people apparently were, especially if you had a lot of money. And you kind of look back now on Karate Kid 3, and you can absolutely see that he probably was on a lot of cocaine. The character, not the actor.
Hey, I like that! Oh, I like that, Johnny! I'm gonna use that!
But now he's, got this girlfriend, and he's got this nice house, and it's all vegan and tofu, and he's got all these very woke friends who are into a lot of things that John Kreese, who just happens to show up at his house to try to recruit Terrence, as he is being called by his girlfriend, friend with benefits, not quite sure what she is because they're not married, yeah. But the point they were getting across is that Terry had kind of lost himself. He wasn't himself anymore. He wasn't even using his own name. He was being called Terrence, and he was eating tofu, and he was letting people basically emasculate him in front of other people, which the old Terry Silver, for all of his faults, the one thing you can say about the old Terry Silver is that he knew who he was and he stood up for himself. This Terrence Silver, No. Kreese starts laying some of the groundwork for getting Terry to come back and be involved in the karate thing, even though Terry Silver himself said, you know, I was kind of insane that I was a grown multi-millionaire baking a lot on a revenge against a high school teenager, but you know, that's the kind of the tongue-in-cheek nature of the Cobra Kai series, is that they don't take themselves too seriously. They realize some of this stuff is absolutely ridiculous, but when it comes time to play it seriously, they do play it seriously. And I like the way they reintroduce Terry, instead of him just coming in as this hurricane of disaster and destruction. He kind of had to warm himself back into being that old Terry Silver, and it doesn't happen immediately. It happens throughout the course of season 4. Of course, meanwhile, we had Daniel and Johnny, who were trying to get along and trying to get Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do to team up together to take on Cobra Kai, because they made this bet that at the All Valley this time, if Cobra Kai won, then Daniel and Johnny were out of business. They couldn't teach any students, and the reverse if Johnny or Daniel's dojo won. And very early on, you're seeing that Daniel and Johnny are having a hard time getting along, and this of course leads to them disintegrating. They actually finally have the fight that we've been waiting for 4 seasons on the show. They actually get in the ring and have a fight, an official points-based fight, where the conclusion was a draw. But was it really a draw? Because actually what had happened is that the whole thing disintegrated. Nobody really won in the end. The team split up. One of the key things that they didn't really get across in this season is that we've seen so many times Daniel, you know, make mistakes, and then he's the good guy, then he's the bad guy, then he's the good guy, then he's the bad guy. And I think one of the things is, and a lot of people have mentioned this about the show, that he's always saying in every episode at least 2 or 3 times, you know, Mr. Miyagi used to blah, 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 blah. And even his son, who actually has more of a role in this season, even points that out. He's like, I don't care what Mr. Miyagi said. You know, you always talk about that. And by the end of season 4, we start to see that Daniel really didn't listen to Mr. Miyagi's lessons. And Miyagi told him at one point in time, you're going to go your own way, not my way. And Daniel tries so hard to do things the way he thinks Mr. Miyagi would have done them, that Daniel hasn't kind of come up with his own thing. And I think that's kind of the journey, because I know me and a lot of other fans, being the fact that we grew up with Daniel LaRusso as a hero, kind of have some hard time or sometimes seeing some of the things that he does not work out, and him not being the good guy all the time. And it is kind of a little bit, it is jarring to some extent, but that's kind of the point, is that he still hasn't found his own way. He's still Miyagi's student, even post-mortem, and he needs to find his own way. Johnny's completely opposite. Johnny knows his way, but Johnny's way still doesn't work, and he's still screwing up with students. He's still screwing up with Miguel, and a lot of crazy things happen in this. But the real interesting thing is what's going on with Cobra Kai, as Terry Silver finally does join up with Cobra Kai. We've got a lot of little intrigue between all the students again. Of course, the love triangles are continuing, and this is the one criticism I do have of the show at this point in its lifespan. We've seen Robby and Miguel and Daniel's daughter, and you know, the love triangles, the love rectangle has gone around, and then they're dating, and then they're not dating, then this one's dating that one, and then this season they're switching partners, and then they're switching partners again the next season. And it's kind of the same thing with Daniel and Johnny. They're fighting, then they're friends, then they're fighting again, then they're friends, then they're fighting again, then they're friends. And it has, I think, by season 4 kind of gotten a bit stale. They can't keep just switching the partners all the time. And I think that's kind of a problem with them continuing the series. Probably at this point, I would say longer than it really should be. I know they're doing a 5th season. I think the 5th season, personally for me, I would like to see it be a 5-season series, because I don't think there's much more story you can squeeze out. There's only really one other major character they can bring back from the movies. Technically 2, but we're going to go with 1 from the original Karate Kid trilogy that they can bring back into the series. And I do feel that we might see that person in season 5. But after that, really, where can they go with the show? But the really cool thing about the conclusion of season 4 was the last couple episodes. And in the penultimate episode, we see Miguel in the fight, and they've... The real funny thing is that they've broken up the fighting now, that the girls are separated from the boys, which is interesting, because the show pokes fun at wokeism sometimes and how silly it is, and that women are equal to men. They did a lot of that in seasons 1 and 2, how, well, you know, women are equal to men, and now they've gone and split it up, because apparently some people legitimately had problems with girls getting kicked by boys on the show, but whatever. So they split it up, so there's 2 tournaments, and of course the young ladies are in the finals of the main tournament. Tory actually winds up winning and winning for Cobra Kai. But on the other side, Hulk, who actually has the most interesting character arc of the season, actually winds up winning in the end, beating Robby. But that's not before Miguel gets himself hurt. And a very scary, well, probably the scariest thing that's ever happened on the show. The next to last episode ends with Miguel doing a jump spin kick and having all of these flashbacks about everything, while him and Sam are really questioning whether or not this is really for them anymore, or is it really for the adults, Johnny and Daniel and Terry Silver and John Kreese. And Miguel starts to lose focus, and in the middle of him doing his kick, his back that was injured at the end of season 2 and damn near paralyzed him for life, looks like it goes out again, and they ended on that thing with him calling out for Sensei, and my heart sank when that happened. Fortunately, they didn't, because I thought at the end of that, I was like, oh my god, then Miguel's got to be paralyzed for life now. And then fortunately, it wasn't that serious an injury, but Miguel decided he was not going to continue. Miguel was not going to fight, which made it come down again to the girls with Sam and Tory. Sam, of course, for Miyagi-Do, and Tory for Cobra Kai. And even with that, the odds were stacked against them. For a brief period of time, Daniel and Johnny get together because Sam kind of likes some of the Eagle Fang stuff, not all just her dad stuff with Miyagi-Do. And it's part of Daniel trying to accept that maybe it's not just the Miyagi-Do way. Maybe you can make something new, which is kind of the theme here. But it takes him a little too long to accept it, even though she kind of does and incorporates both styles and throws Tory off for a little bit. Tory is so determined by a lot of heartfelt things we see between Tory and Sam's mother during the course of the season that Tory seemed like she should win the tournament. And I think that's a nice thing that they did by having Tory and Hulk win the tournaments respectively, because both of those characters were at the lowest points during the season and had the most to gain from winning in their respective tournaments. So I thought that was pretty well done. Although for me, it was a little bit kind of obvious at a certain point that both of them were going to win in the men and the women's competitions, but I don't think it took away from the story at all. It was well told. So then we get to the ending, and yes, I have to mention Stingray. Stingray shows... Stingray is back. I kind of missed him in season 3, but Stingray is back. He's probably one of the best comedy reliefs in this whole show. He's back. He comes in, and he actually plays a pivotal role because John Kreese, not like Johnny, he doesn't really tolerate Stingray. He kicks him out of Cobra Kai. Stingray tries to come back because he's so delusional. He thinks this is a test. But he catches Terry Silver right after Terry has a falling out with Kreese because Silver tried to beat up Johnny. Kreese really didn't like that. So a drunk Terry Silver beats the living snot out of Stingray. But we find out at the end of the episode that was all really a setup to get John Kreese out of Cobra Kai. Terry winds up threatening Stingray to say that it wasn't Terry Silver that beat the snot out of him, it was John Kreese. And at the end, after Cobra Kai wins and they basically can dominate the entire valley and fulfill what Terry Silver had said in Karate Kid 3, he's going to open Cobra Kai dojos all over this valley. So now they've finally achieved it. They've finally gotten to the point where Cobra Kai reigns in the valley. But the last little bit is that the cops come and arrest John Kreese and take him out of contention. And now Terry Silver has total control of the valley, of Cobra Kai, and basically karate in general in their little fictional world of this valley, the all valley world of karate. It's all Terry Silver's now. There's a lot of other little side stories with Robby, which I think Robby's character wasn't as interesting this season as he's been in prior seasons. He's shifted back and forth. We got some other characters returning from prior seasons that we hadn't seen before. I like Dimitri in this season. I think Dimitri was far more enjoyable in this season than he had been in prior seasons. He's always a good, fun, again, another comedy actor, but him kind of like rising up and being actually a really good karate student in the tournament and getting very far in the tournament. I think he made it to the semifinals in this season. I thought that was really cool. And again, a nice character arc from him from season 1 up here until season 4. But I think the biggest thing that came out of all of this is Miguel leaving the tournament and then deciding to run away to go down to Mexico City by himself to find his father. Not really a good idea. Of course, his mother, grandmother, and Johnny find out that's what had happened because he left a note. So Johnny decides he's going to go down to Mexico City to try to find Miguel before he runs into his father. We've been hearing about Miguel's father since the beginning of the Cobra Kai series way back in season 1, and Miguel's father is this bad guy. Apparently, it's implied that he's involved with, kind of organized crime, and it's a very scary thing. So Johnny's going to try to save, and that's going to be interesting because I saw that William Zabka is filming in Puerto Rico. They just wrapped up filming on season 5, so it's going to take basically Cobra Kai out of the valley, much the same way Daniel went to Japan in season 3. They're taking it out of the valley in season 5 and taking Johnny out and putting him in Mexico City in storyline, and that could go anywhere. I don't know where that can go. There was a subplot about Daniel's son and this other new kid that they've been involved in the series, and how Robby saw that he kind of failed mentoring this new kid in the Cobra Kai, and that Daniel's son was bullying him, and that was a very it was interesting, but I kind of felt like, okay, I kind of think we should be wrapping up the storyline, and they're just adding new layers onto it. And at some points in the show, in this season, it felt like there were too many characters to keep track of. And, oh yeah, this person's doing that and that. Well, what was this person doing again? And I forgot what happened there. So that kind of is kind of an issue. But at the same time, as I mentioned before, how many times are going to switch the teen couples around? And how many times is Daniel and Johnny going to fight and then not fight and then team up and not team up and then, So I think it was good for them to add new characters to it, but I think maybe, again, it's a sign that the show maybe on the cusp of jumping the shark and doing too much and going too long, but we'll have to wait and see what happens in season 5 for that. And as I mentioned before, there probably is legitimately one more character that they could bring in. Now, I said 2, because technically, I don't know if they would get Hilary Swank for this, but they could do a season 6 where they bring in Hilary Swank, because she did learn under Miyagi, so maybe she could help out the girls in season 6. I don't know. I don't even know what Hilary Swank is doing these days. But legitimately, I do think in season 5, we're going to see Mike Barnes. Because remember, Terry Silver is now running Cobra Kai, but it's just him. And he's still going to have to deal with Daniel, who we saw at the end of season 4, recruited Chosen, which was pretty awesome team up there, to come and help him against Cobra Kai and Terry Silver. So I think Terry Silver might have to enlist Mike Barnes, who, a lot of soap opera fans famously know him from a lot of soap operas, and I think he's still working on soap operas for all I know. But him coming back to the show, Chosen coming back to the show, I think in season 5, it's a high possibility we might get to see some of the fantasy things that Karate Kid fans have always thought about. What if Chosen faces off against Mike Barnes? Or what if Chosen fought Johnny? Or what if Johnny fought Mike Barnes? Or what if Terry Silver fought Chosen? And we're going to get to kind of see all of these badasses from 30 years ago that we all had our fantasy, playtime with. What if Chosen fought Johnny? We're probably going to see it in season 5 in some way, shape, or form, which is pretty cool. We already got to see Terry Silver fight Johnny. Didn't work out too well for Johnny because that old man can kick. But this is kind of that is one of the appeals. The 2 major appeals of the Cobra Kai show, or 3 I should say, is seeing Johnny being this kind of and to some extent Kreese being these throwbacks to the 80s, dealing with modern day woke millennials. Second thing is seeing these fantasy, what if so-and-so fought so-and-so from the original Karate Kid trilogy. And the third one is the fact that as a viewer, sometimes you're on Johnny's side, sometimes you're like, come on, Johnny, that was effed up. Sometimes you're on Daniel's side, and then sometimes you're not on Daniel's side. Sometimes you're on this kid's side, but then you're not on this kid's side. And I think that's kind of the theme of the entire series, which ironically enough isn't a very Japanese theme, or, it's not based in Japan. In fact, it's more of a Chinese theme. It's a Taoist theme about chaos and order. Johnny being chaos, with Daniel being order. And really what you want with the yin yang, the Taoism, is you want to kind of walk the line between the two. You don't want to be over here. You don't want to be over here, which runs counter to a line that Mr. Miyagi had said to Daniel that they even brought back in this season, which I thought was funny, is walk a left side road, safe. Walk a right side road, safe. Walk middle of the road, sooner or later get squished just like grape. But I think that's kind of running counter to what the show is saying, which is you kind of need both, and you need to walk the line between both, which again is a very Chinese Taoist theme, not a Japanese one. But I'm excited to see season 5. I think it's coming out later this year. They just wrapped up filming season 5. We're going to find out more about this as time goes on, but I want to know what you guys think. Did you watch I almost called it Karate Kid. Did you watch Cobra Kai season 4? Have you watched the entire series? What do you think about it? Let your voice be heard in the comment box below, and let me know who your favorite character, because there's a lot to choose from Stingray to Dimitri to Hawk to Johnny, and some people may be big fans of Terry Silver. Some people are big fans of Daniel. Some are big fans of Sam or Tory or whoever else it is. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until next time, I will see you guys as we continue to do more reviews here on the Rantin Review Entertainment. Have a good day.